Hey, it's Jen. I'm going a little rogue with my podcast today, tuning in live, and I want to share something really important today. So one of the worst things you can do with ADHD is believe the statement or buy into the statement that you can't because you have ADHD. Fill in the blank, right? I can't do this work, or I can't work for myself, or I can't get the dishes done. And sure, I get it. There are some things that our ADHD does make it harder to do, but a lot of times it's not that we can't, it's that the amount of energy it would take to do it isn't worth it because of all the other stuff we couldn't get done. So today I want to unpack the challenges that we face as ADHD women with ADHD and the beliefs that we've been handed growing up, often undiagnosed. A lot of times we were told that we weren't good enough, or we weren't trying hard enough, or we weren't meeting our true potential. We weren't working hard enough. Or a lot of us might have been in trouble for our ADHD, but I think there's others of us that have been in trouble for different ways. I know I've certainly been in trouble for blurting things out or saying something that was maybe a little inappropriate, but totally something that was aligned with my neurodivergence. I want to hold compassion for all of us, that we have these messages about, not being good enough, being bad, being in trouble, or we're not getting it right. And I want to just say that's fair. We come by this honestly. And what's true is it's not that we're bad or wrong. It's just that living in this neurotypical society with ADHD is really hard. And so sometimes we're not able to do it the neurotypical way, or at least not well, or at least not without spending an enormous amount of energy way above and beyond everyone else. It's really important that we honor that and recognize that it's not that we can't. Because that language, I can't, is what keeps us feeling stuck. It's what keeps us feeling like we're not good enough. We can, it's just that we choose not to because of the cost it would be to us. And hey, that's fair. I choose not to put away my clean laundry every single week because the amount of energy it would take me to force myself to do it. I mean, it feels like I can't. I could probably get myself to do it, but on those low energy days, there's probably not anything else I could do. And so then that choice becomes a pretty easy one. I don't know, does it really matter if my clean laundry is put away, or is this other thing more important? Or maybe, I don't know, on a Sunday, I would rather read a book or relax or see family or go for a hike with a friend. And maybe I only have enough bandwidth to do one of those things. What am I going to choose? I hope that you're aligned with me, and maybe that laundry being put away isn't quite so essential. So it's not that we can't do it. It's just that the cost of doing those things, especially when they build up, is enormous and not worth it, right? And sometimes it might feel like you can't. I'm not saying in any way, I'm not trying to be ableist. If you are so depressed, you truly cannot find a way to get out of bed, I'm in no way trying to shame you. I just want to point out that sometimes we can take small steps to get ourselves to do things, but some of those things are just not what we want to choose to do, right? If you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling very deep into your inattentive type ADHD, if that's what you have, it might be really hard to get yourself to do anything some days. And so putting away your laundry is not that one thing that you're going to do. So that's really, really important. The other thing I think we need to do is really get clear on where those messages are coming from and starting to rewrite the narrative. So when I hear myself say, I can't, which let me pause there, it does take some self-awareness to be able to even notice that we're buying into these narratives, that we're saying these things both aloud and to ourselves. But once we have that self-awareness, if we can notice ourselves saying, I can't because, if instead we can pause and notice where is that coming from? Whose voice is that? Is it truly that I can't? Or is it that it would be really hard? And if that message is coming from the past, if it's a voice from the past, we can start to question it. Sometimes those messages are, I'm bad if I can't get my laundry put away, or I'm bad if I don't post on social media 5 times a day for my business, or I'm not a good entrepreneur if I don't email my list every single week consistently with no breaks, which if you follow my email list, you know I haven't done that. So there's that. I don't think I'm a bad entrepreneur. I think I needed a break. So sometimes if we can question those narratives, right? So when I didn't send my emails out, I noticed the narrative, oh my gosh, I'm a bad entrepreneur. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my entire audience because I didn't send out weekly emails for about a month. Those thoughts come up, and some of it may be true, but the question we can ask ourselves first is it true that I'm a bad entrepreneur or even a bad person if I didn't email my list every single week? Is it true that I'm going to lose all of my audience by doing that? Now, you might be saying, well, maybe, Jen. And I don't know. I guess I don't know the answer to that. We'll find out. I sent some emails out today for this week, and we'll find out what my open rate is. But a lot of times the answer is no, it's not true. It's not true. And sometimes those messages are, I'm not good enough or I'm bad. And if we ask ourselves, am I bad because I didn't post on social media 5 times today? Am I a bad entrepreneur? Am I a bad person? The answer is no. Whether you do something or not is not a moral judgment. And so then what we can start to do is say, well, how do I feel when I believe that's true? How do I feel when I believe that I'm a bad person or a bad entrepreneur when I didn't post on social media 5 times or didn't put my clean laundry away this week or last week? When I tell myself I'm bad for or going to lose all my clients, my audience, if I don't email everyone absolutely every single week? Well, I can tell you how I feel, and it makes me feel hopeless and helpless and more stuck. It doesn't exactly motivate me into action. It makes me want to crawl up on a corner of my couch or bed under a blanket and fully put the blanket over my head and be done with the world. So it's not particularly effective to think those thoughts. So we can start to flip it and say to ourselves, well, what is true? And what's the evidence that thing isn't true? What's the evidence that I'm a good entrepreneur? Well, I have followers and people like what I put out there. I get responses to my emails because they're well thought out, and I only send them when I actually have something good or worthwhile to say versus just making shit up just to be able to do it every week. There's that. I have people who buy my products. That doesn't make you a bad person. It's not a moral judgment. It just means maybe you haven't figured out what works for you and your audience yet. That doesn't mean you're bad. It's starting to separate out that identity from what you are or aren't doing. So much of this comes from living in a society that puts value on us as humans as to how much we produce. If you don't produce very much, it means you don't have very much value. Evidence that I'm a good person. Not, oh, I didn't post on social media 5 times today as an entrepreneur, so that means I'm bad. Okay, well, what's the evidence that I'm a good person? Well, my cats love me. Cabin neighbors are friendly to me. We've had some nice conversation. When I'm in the grocery store, they're interacting kindly back. I value not being an asshole in general, so that bodes well for me as being not bad. I'm a loving auntie, a loving sister, and a really good friend. And I'm a human who has compassion in my heart for other humans, even if my behavior isn't 100% perfect. So hopefully you're getting the idea of this strategy is that first we have to have awareness, like, oh, I'm buying into this old messaging about me as a bad person, entrepreneur, whatever, or I'm believing, oh, I can't because I have ADHD. Recognizing the narrative and saying, is it true that I'm bad because, or is it true that I can't because? And if you're like, yep, I can't, then you can say, is it really true 100% of the time? Because chances are nothing is true 100% of the time. And then that next step is noticing, like, how do I feel when I believe that's true? Usually the answer is crappy, which is why we're doing this, so you don't keep feeling it. Because when you feel crappy, it's going to keep you from doing the shit you need to get done, right? And then that last step is to flip it and say, what's the evidence that the opposite is true? What's the evidence that I'm not bad? What's the evidence that I'm actually a good person? What's the evidence that I'm doing my best? I'll tell you, I've been in the mental health field for 23 years now, this month actually. And I have only met one person who wasn't getting up and doing the absolute best they could every day. And who knows, maybe she was, but she was a genuine sociopath, like actually 100% sociopath. And so she just really didn't give a shit about other humans. She just, I mean, like, hey, so, if you're a sociopath, you probably don't care about doing your best, and that's fair. But the rest of us get up every morning and do the damn best we can every day. And you might be like, but my best isn't good enough. Well, you know what? It's going to have to be good enough. And there's always opportunity for growth. But I will tell you, you're not going to be able to grow by shaming the hell out of yourself. You're not going to get stuff done in your business by shaming yourself and telling yourself you're bad at this and you're not cut out for this. And who knows? Maybe it isn't a fit for you to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you do better in a job. Although I hear from a lot of my ADHD clients that, jobs aren't always a great thing for us ADHD folks. I'll tell you, it was never my ideal situation. It was either understimulating or overstimulating and very people-y. And I don't like people telling me what to do, which I think most people don't like telling them what to do. But I think it's particularly common for ADHD, at least for this ADHD woman who went to Catholic school and was told what to do my entire life. I'm super over it. I'm guessing you might be too, especially if you're trying to work for yourself. So I went off the rails with my ADHD. That's okay. I'm not a bad person. It's not a moral judgment. But to come back, what I want you to do is start to focus on the messages you're telling yourself, because shaming yourself is ineffective and it's only getting in your way. If you're not already, be sure to follow, and I'd love it if you'd share.